your dreams.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Genshin Impact video, and today I'm just going to be doing a quick Eula guide. By the way, if you happen to like the content, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It'd be greatly appreciated. One of Eula's greatest strengths is whenever she gets a Grim Heart from her E skill, the Grim Heart gives her a damage to interruption resistance, which is pretty neat. Her elemental skill can also decrease the opponent's cryo and physical resistance, and her elemental burst provides a shit ton of damage. In fact, majority of her damage is going to be coming out of her burst. Now, even though her burst is like her biggest part of her damage, one of Eula's problems if her burst doesn't crit, or God forbid you miss the burst, then it's basically a huge loss. Her burst also costs a lot. It costs 80, and without a proper battery, Eula is going to be having a hard time of getting to her burst. Also, if you decide to hold on Eula's elemental skill, the cooldown of the hold of her skill is pretty long. The cooldown for the hold skill is 10 seconds. Now, speaking of her elemental skill, let's briefly talk about that. Basically, how Ice Tide Vortex works is when you press the skill, you get a stack called the Grim Heart stack. Basically, what this Grim Heart does is it increases her defense, and it also gives her the damage to interruption resistance. She can only hold a max up to 2 Grim Hearts. Now, if you decide to hold Eula's elemental skill, it will consume all the Grim Hearts and will basically decrease the enemy's physical and cryo resistance. Now, as for Eula's elemental burst, basically Eula will do a wide slash at the enemy, dealing cryo damage, and she'll gain this thing called a light sword. Whenever Eula uses her normal attacks or her elemental skill or her elemental burst, it'll basically charge up energy for this light sword, and after the duration of the light sword ends, it'll explode and deal a shit ton of damage depending on how much energy you've provided for the light sword. By the way, this light sword also increases her damage to interruption as well. Also, another thing to keep in mind, if you use Eula's burst and switch immediately to another character, the light sword will immediately explode. So because of these interesting mechanics between her elemental skill, her burst, and these whole Grim Heart shit, Eula does have specific combos that you can do in order to, well, increase her damage. For example, if you have Eula's elemental burst already on the go, you use her burst, you hold her E skill, you normal attack a few times, and then pray to your deity that the Lightfall bomb is going to hit the enemies, and that's that. Now, if you don't have her elemental burst already charged up, you basically tap her elemental skill until you get to her burst, and then once you get to her burst, you just repeat the first process I said, and that's just basically how you play Eula. Now, as for team composition, since Eula is a physical main DPS, she's basically going to be relying on superconduct. So any superconduct teams you can think of, any electro characters that you have, any other cryo characters that can help with the battery for Eula's burst will be essential. Raiden is a pretty good partner for her, since Raiden is also a battery as well, so if you're lacking another cryo character, you can just always use Raiden as the battery. Also, Raiden's elemental skill is pretty handy in increasing your burst damage. Now, if you're one of the few unlucky people that don't have Raiden, there's also Fischl, who's another pretty good 4-star option, since Fischl can apply electro pretty consistently. So Fischl and Raiden are basically one of the best partners for Eula in my opinion. But there are also other electro characters you can use, like Kuki Shinobu, who is a healer, Dori, who is also a healer, and she's also a battery as well. Now, as for other cryo characters that you can use along with Eula, there's Diona, who's a shielder and a healer. There's also Shenhe. Shenhe can also decrease the enemy's physical resistance through her burst. There's also Mika as well that can provide the healing for Eula, and can also provide the normal attack boost that he normally provides. Rosaria is also a pretty good option as well. Rosaria can provide crit rate through her burst, and she can also decrease the enemy's physical resistance. Also, the cryo resonance that cryo characters provide will also provide you with more crit rate, so if you're struggling to get crit rate on Eula, then having another cryo character will help. Now, as for characters outside of Electro and Cryo, we got Bennett, who's obviously Bennett. I don't think I need to say too much about Bennett. There's also Zhongli, another pretty great character. There's also Yujin that provides normal attack boost. Yelan is also pretty good as her burst provides your active character more damage as long as the duration of her burst is ongoing. Now as for artifact sets, there is the 4-piece Pale Flame. The 2-piece set basically increases your physical damage by 25%. The 4-piece basically provides you an attack boost whenever you hit an opponent with an elemental skill. The effect of this can stack up to 2 times, which is pretty perfect for Eula's elemental skill, since you can only get 2 Grim Hearts at a time. Now, if you're just unlucky with the 4-piece Pale Flame, you can always just run 2-piece Pale Flame and 2-piece of the Bloodstained, because both of them basically provide more physical damage. Or you can run 2-piece Pale Flame and 2-piece of the Emblem set. The 2-piece Emblem provides you with 20% more energy recharge, so if you want to use Eula's burst as often as possible, then maybe using this 2-piece set will be beneficial. Now, obviously, the main stats you should aim for is the attack, physical damage bonus, and crit rate or crit damage. Now, as for the best weapons for Eula, we obviously have the Sword of Broken Pines. Whenever you use a normal attack or a skill, you basically increase your attack by 16% and you get this stack thingy. Once you get 4 of these sigils, you'll basically have an attack and a speed increase for like a few seconds, 12 seconds to be precise. Next weapon is another 5-star weapon, which is the Wolf's Gravestone. The passive of this weapon will increase your attack by 20%, and whenever you hit enemies that have less than 30% HP, will increase your party member's attack by 40% and also your HP as well. Can only occur once every 30 seconds. Next weapon is another 5-star, which is called the Unforged. Fuck the Unforged. I have trauma with this weapon. If you want to use this weapon, go ahead, but I'm traumatized by this weapon. Fuck the Unforged. It looks like a piece of shit. Next weapon we got is the 4-star weapon, the Serpent Spine. This is a battle pass weapon. When a character is on the field, they will deal 6 more damage and will take 3% more damage with a maximum of 5 stacks. The stacks will not be reset if the character leaves the field, but if you do take damage, the stacks will, reset. So in order to negate damage with this weapon, you could use a shielder like Diona or Zhongli. Now as for the free-to-play weapons for Eula, there is the Prototype Archaic, which is a pretty good option. On hit, when a normal or charge attacks have a 50% chance to deal additional 240% attack damage to every enemies with a small AoE, will occur once every 15 seconds. And there's also the Snow-Tombed Star Silver. Hitting an enemy with a normal and charged attacks has a 60% chance of forming and dropping an Everfrost Icicle above them, dealing 80% AoE attack damage. Enemies affected by cryo are dealt 200% attack damage. Will occur once every 10 seconds. Eula used to be an overall favorite character. She was featured in like a lot of like damage showcases back in the day. But nowadays people tend to dog on her because, Abyss hasn't really been too nice with Eula, or more specifically just physical damage. The amount of ruin enemies that they put in the Abyss, those enemies typically have high physical resistance, which kind of fucks over Eula. So players are more likely to use elemental comps, especially dendro comps. Elemental reactions can be pretty busted and, they're a lot more favorable compared to physical. Eula can be considered a hyper carry character since she does need a ton of characters in order for her to be more efficient. But at the end of the day, Genshin Impact is a single player game and the Abyss is kind of very shitty with rewards, so it's not even worth losing hair over getting 36 stars or not. So that's going to be the end of this video. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think of Eula? You love Eula? Let me know in the comments and I will see you guys later.
Bye bye now. Come again soon.